Hello and a warm welcome to Federal Special Program Capital Beat. Now, a massive protest was held at Jantar Mantar in Delhi by the Cockroach Party seeking the resignation of Union Home Minister Dharmendra Pradhan over alleged lapses linked to examinations. Now, Abhijeet Dipke, the founder of Gen Z-led Cockroach Janta Party, led the protest at Jantar Mantar in Delhi, and later on, activist Sonam Wangchu also joined the protest as well. Now, Dipke arrived in India early Saturday morning, and he threatened of a nationwide protest if the education minister Dharmendra Pradhan doesn't resign by 5 p.m. today. And the permission which the Delhi police gave to the Cockroach Party was till 5 p.m. Now, Dharmendra Pradhan and the Education Department, as everyone knows, are facing flack over the NEET UG 2026 paper leak case and alleged irregularities in the CBSE's on-screen marking system, which was used for both evaluation and re-evaluation of Class 12 board examinations. Now, what we know just a short while back, the pictures which you see on the screen are from Delhi's Jantar Mantar area, and there was a huge protest where even the parents joined in with their children. That's what we are told. And Sonam Wangchuk was seen speaking. And what we also came to know of was that the protesters asked Sonam Wangchuk to be the education minister. Now, the alacrity, the speed with which Cockroach Party got the Delhi police's permission sent the tongues wagging, because everybody started talking about the fact that how Delhi police had been sitting over permissions when it came to the farmers' protests in the past, when it came to the women's wrestlers in the past. This speedy permission was never given to the protesters ever. So why this speedy permission which was granted to Cockroach Party? So there are lots of questions around it. Congress, though, has not issued any official stand on the Cockroach Party protest, but off and on, when you speak to the leaders and the protesters who are and the spokespersons coming on the panel discussions, they have been saying that they are looking at this protest with a pinch of salt, because the NSUI protests had also been taken place in the last 10 to 12 days, but the media did not cover them with the same speed as what the protests of the Cockroach Party are being covered. So there are 2-3 questions now that what is the big picture around this Cockroach Party protest? Now, is it some sort of a conspiracy which everyone is talking about on the social media? That is this a conspiracy between RSS and the deep state? We'll talk about that as well. The other, of course, is the sentiment around the students. Now, sentiment is that there were lapses in the exam process, and the accountability should be held. And what if Dharmendra Pradhan doesn't resign? What happens to the Cockroach Party protest? How long will it continue? And the questions revolving around this protest also, lead to the question that is this Cockroach Party protest a genuine protest, or is it just politics? We'll try and discuss all of this. Joining me this evening is Professor Tanveer Aijaz, professor from the Ramjas College. Thank you so much, sir, for joining. We have Sujata Paul, a political analyst and Congress spokesperson, joins us. Thank you so much, Sujata, for joining. And we have Abhishek Rawat, senior journalist from the Federal, who was on the spot, and he's just come back after covering the protest at Jantar Mantar. Thank you so much, Abhishek, for joining. And I'll begin with you, Abhishek. What is the latest update? Now, Delhi police had granted permission till 5 p.m. But what we know is that apparently the protest has ended.
Yes, Neelu, protest has been ended by 3:30 p.m. Abhijeet Dipke and Sonam Wangchuk both left from the Jantar Mantar, and they told all the protesters who came to join them that we requested our demand to the government, and we are seeking their response, and we are demanding the resignation of Dharmendra Pradhan, who is the education minister, and they both were said that we will plan for future on which we have to go with this protest, because Sonam Wangchuk said that we are not protesting, we are just requesting to the government that Dharmendra Pradhan should give the resignation, and he should own the responsibility of these paper leaks and the students who who did suicide due to this system failure. So we have to watch for their future steps, but they will decide in future if Dharmendra Pradhan not uh, resign from his birth.
All right. No, so what are we to assume now if the protest has ended at 3:30 p.m.? Now is the protest going to continue tomorrow, Abhishek? What is the latest update? Have you been able
No,
to
no,
speak to the
no. They didn't tell this that they will come tomorrow for the same protest. They just said that we will plan for our future step, and we have to discuss first for our future step, and then we will tell to all our supporters what kind of step we will take in future, and then we do what we want to do.
But isn't this stand a bit strange? Because it's difficult to believe that Abhijeet Dipke is saying that now we will plan, which means that it was not planned earlier. Now they will wait and watch. They will see how the government reaction is. Then they will plan their next course of action. I mean, was it just a 1 day affair? Was it just a 1 day protest which he was looking at? Or he's going to plan a series of protests now on this?
Actually, both the government and the Cockroach Party, both are watching that what is the gravity of this protest and what is the velocity of the numbers of the supporters of the Cockroach Party. As we in the morning time till noon, the number of protesters was very limited, and after when Abhijeet Dipke joined this protest around 12:30 p.m. when he arrived at the Jantar Mantar. And after arriving there, he left for some other way, and then he came back around 1:30 p.m. And after a few minutes, Sonam Wangchuk also joined the protest. Till then, the number of protesters was increased by about 2,000 protesters were there, or 2 to 3,000 number of persons were there, in which around 500, approximately 500 persons were from media and social media. So the total approximate number of protesters was around 2,000 or 2,500, which is not even a 1%
Yes,
of the total followers
exactly.
on social media.
Right. So
So
I was coming to that question. Abhishek. So that means that 22 million followers they had on Instagram, but they could not even muster 5,000 people for their offline protest. Now, does that mean that the protest has fizzled out and the kind of the sound and the noise which we heard initially, it actually hasn't resulted that way on the roads, on the street?
yeah, yes. So that's why I've said that both the government and the Cockroach Party were checking the probability of the protesters or the supporters who came to join this protest. There is a very minimal number of supporters who have joined this protest, and that's why both Sonam Wangchuk and Abhijeet Dipke said that we have to plan for further steps. We first talk for our future policy, then we should announce it in front of our supporters via this social media for their next step.
No, but it's looking very amateurish that they launch such a big movement online, and then Abhijit Dipke arrives in India, and then he says, "I'm going to plan my next course of action." Now, how many days it will take, I don't know. The only recognizable and the known face we saw was that of Sonam Wangchuk. Now, what I'm told off the record, without naming people, is that there are a lot of people who are wanting to join the movement, but something is holding them back. What is the reason, Abhishek? What are you hearing from your sources? Have you been able to find out from others as to who are these people who are wanting to join? What is the shape of the movement now? I mean, does it look amorphous? We can't see the shape of the movement right now. And uh, with the with the numbers which we are seeing on the first day, doesn't give you too much of hope that they would be able to do much on this front.
Actually, in the beginning, if I talked about the morning time, there was not even a munch was there. All the supporters who came to join this
You mean to
protest,
say the
uh,
stage? You mean to say that the stage wasn't made in the morning? The stage wasn't built up
yeah,
in the morning.
yeah,
You were saying,
yeah.
okay.
Stage was made around 12:30 p.m. when Abhijeet Dipke came first, and then he saw all the arrangements around Jantar Mantar, and then they decided to make the stage just behind the barricades from the road which came from Jantar Mantar side, and then they made a munch there, and from their munch, Abhijeet Dipke, Sonam Wangchuk, and their team members were present there, and they were uh, 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 just shared their things and this demand or request as per Sonam Wangchuk. This is not a protest, this is a request to central government to take responsibility for this paper leak, and Dharmendra Pradhan should resign as per his own will.
Sounds a bit strange, but let me now come to Sujata and Professor Tanveer. Sujata, I'll come to you first. Now, a big social media online movement comes up. 22 million followers it has on Instagram. Abhijeet Dipke arrives with all the fanfare and making all the announcements that come and gather at Jantar Mantar, but barely there are people seen on the street. And a quick permission is granted by the Delhi police. Now, as what Abhishek has described, that they are saying that they will plan their next course of action. What does it mean, really? And how would Congress party officially see this movement? Because all said and done, the sentiment is strong that the system has failed the students. The system has poured water on the aspirations of the CBSE and the NEET students. So, how would you view this movement?
Good evening, Neelu, to my co-panelists and to your audiences. Now, there are two issues over here. One is what has stirred this entire meme to movement. And that is basically the angst of the students, the young minds, their parents, teachers as well. And that has to do with the future of youngsters. And do not forget that these are 2.5 crores, 17 plus who turn 18 almost every year, 2 to 2.5 crores. So that's not a small number. So if you look at what has been happening in the last few years and go by this number, then it is very clear how many of them have joined this particular movement online. But having said that, when we are talking about the political side to it, I think, the Congress party might be a little wary about it, but let's not also forget that when Vinod Jakhar, did the movement in Rajasthan, he did, have people talking about cockroaches. And it was the same idea behind the whole thing, because it is the youngsters who are very upset with what the Honorable Chief Justice of India said about those who ask questions, about those who file RTIs, about students who are raising questions. And clearly, targeting students is not really the done thing. You should never do it, because we are only custodians of this, of our country. It is the youngsters who are going to take on the mantle tomorrow. Now, targeting them is absolutely wrong, because when students are questioning the system, let's give them some respect. And the system clearly does not want any voices, any dissenting voices, and it cannot bear to hear them, because the Prime Minister has simply disappeared. It's not as if the Congress party has not been raising questions on the NEET leak. From 2024, when the leak happened at that time, to now, we are raising questions, and we are demanding Dharmendra Pradhan's resignation. As far as the CBSE's online marking system is concerned, on-screen marking system, that has a lot to ask for. I have been an ISC teacher, and I know how much of an effort we took to discuss how students were to be given marks and how we could show empathy where questions were confusing or doubtful for the students. So we put ourselves in their place when we were discussing the marking scheme, and clearly what the CBSE is doing is unacceptable. Now, coming to the movement, the Congress Party has not said anything against the movement at the moment, like it's being made out to. Of course, there will be doubts, and the doubts are there because of what happened before the 2014 elections when the India Against Corruption movement happened. But I will draw a line over there, and my personal view here is that at that time also, it was the 2012 Nirbhaya case which actually got students onto the streets. And I remember seeing so many of my students in Delhi on the streets or in television studios at that time. I felt extremely proud of the way they conducted themselves and took on that particular issue of Nirbhaya's matter, explaining to the audiences across the country as to how it affected girls and what the boys also thought about it. But at that time, the momentum, because it had been built, and again, that was a common man's, common citizens movement, but the momentum which had built was actually converted into the India Against Corruption movement by the RSS BJP. There are no doubts about it today. And that is why probably everybody is looking at this movement also with suspicion and doubt. But I would like to put it aside at the moment because, at that time also, people who joined the India Against Corruption movement did not know who was behind it. It was basically the cause which got people onto the streets or, associated with that movement. And here also, let's understand that
let me interrupt you here, Sujata, because these are the pictures I want to show you that these are the protests which were done by the NSUI workers just a few days ago. Now, you can see protests by the NSUI in Bhubaneswar, in Bhopal, in Ranchi, in Jodhpur, in Ahmedabad, Hyderabad, Delhi, Amravati, and then again Delhi. Stream of protests over there. Now, also, a lot of people in the Congress are tweeting about this, that the media did not cover the NSUI protests. Just as the Cockroach Party got a huge coverage. What would you say to that? I mean, do you find that there's been a discrimination by the media as far as the coverage is concerned?
Of course, there has been a discrimination, and it's a clear discrimination. And look at the number of people out there on the streets. What are we fighting for? The NSUI is fighting for the youngsters of this country. They have been the voice of the youngsters of this country, and they have raised it. But of course, they have not got the kind of attention or the media attention that the Cockroach Jantar Party has got. But don't forget that when we are posting these videos online, then also they are reaching people across the world, but they are being lapped up by people within the country mainly, and then it becomes a political movement. And right now the Cockroach Jantar Party, which started as a meme, has not turned into a political party. Whatever anybody says, it is simply a movement that people, the youngsters, parents, teachers are joining because they think that this is a neutral movement. Because the moment you associate yourself with an opposition party, you get maligned. So that fear is always there. You've heard the youngsters who met Rahul Gandhi ji, and what were they saying? That they were being called Pakistanis, anti-nationals, deep state agents. Tell me that people who are conducting these examinations and allowing this leak to happen are Hindustanis, and those who are questioning the system, living in a democracy, and when their lives are being affected, their future is being affected, they are Pakistanis. I mean, how is that? It sounds horrible to your ears, right? So the fact is that we do, every Congress person is affected by the fact that we are not getting that screen space, we are not getting that attention. But don't forget that if Abhijeet Dipke is doing it from America, then his social media handle is much more difficult to kind of control, because he must, if this particular handle of his on Instagram was registered in the US, clearly the US laws will apply over there. Though it is very, of course, what happened to their X handle, we all know that they came up with another handle. So I wouldn't put doubts on that movement at the moment, because like you've seen, it's not really turned into anything huge. But mind you, this is huge, because we've seen stand-up comedians who are youngsters who are speaking about against this government, and now when they're joining the movement online, please understand, nobody's going to let their 17 or 18 or 19-year-old go out to the streets to fight. They're not political. It's very difficult for that to happen. This is not Gen Z of Nepal or Bangladesh. Please don't compare them to them. We are an educated country. We are the country of Gandhi, and the kind of protest that is happening is very genuine. Somebody else has to take this on and take it forward.
Right, so whatever we've seen on day one, now I would call it day one, the day when Abhijeet Dipke arrives, and he arrived with all the fanfare, with loud announcements. Tanvir, he came, and we thought as if, what is going to happen really on that day? Will the government be able to handle it or not? Those were the doubts in everybody's mind. That what if so many lakhs of people they collect on the streets of Delhi? That was a doubt. And now with seeing the way this protest is shaping up, we don't see a proper shape of this movement. We don't even know what are the end goals. So are we in a position to say that, all the sound and fury has actually ended up in a whimper?
Well, not really. I think if 2000 plus students were there, one has to also recognize the fact that it's a time when examinations are going on in Delhi University, right? So most of these students are back at home, number one, right? And then, there is definitely a collective anger in students, right? Particularly about the kind of leakages and corruption cases and all those things which have come to limelight. So that collective anger is there. Now, the Cockroach Party, Cockroach Jantar Party, is basically trying to vent out this kind of suppressed anger which is there in these students. Now, they are looking for some kind of organization. They are looking for some kind of, how they can become a more meaningful, structurally more, proper organization in terms of their protest against the government. But one fact is very clear, that they have protested against the government, and their demand is very clear, clean, and simple. Just one demand at the moment, that remove the education minister, right? Which, of course, most of the sensible political parties are doing it, right? Congress is demanding for resignation of education minister a long time back. Rahul Gandhi, has been asking for this since the day when there was this leakage and when there was this fiasco which came up. So I think that it's a moment. I mean, one has to realize that it's a moment in the Indian politics where the institutional political parties are not able to gather the kind of sentiments which these groups are sort of trying to gather, and then making a vent out. So I think, I think that the government's position at the moment is to wait and watch that which way it is going, right? I'm not very sure that by whom they are funded, by which political party they are being supported. But that some political party, of course, is lending. Left, for instance, they have come out openly in support with this, because I think there's a convergence, right? So I think oppositional parties, this is a moment when oppositional parties must converge, right? There is a genuine demand. You see, this demand to remove the education minister and then clean up the whole education system is a very genuine demand we have been seeing, right? So So therefore, there's a need to build up a fraternity within the oppositional forces, and I'm sure that it's going to happen, because that's the way how movement progresses. So the next step, perhaps, what I think about this whole group is that they would fix up a date. See, they have asked for resignation. They would fix up a date, and then they would perhaps come up more strongly against the government. That's what I'm thinking, because they're not going to step down. That's clear. Government thinks that it's going to peter out. So I think government is wrong in thinking about that it's going to peter out, because there has been a collective, emotional sensitivity with a lot of intensity. It requires a went out, and mind you, it is not. It is a Gen Z's intensity, Gen Z's emotional concern. So their went out would be very different, right? It would not be a kind of a went out that the older, mature political party they largely do. So therefore, one has to take it very seriously, with a lot of anxiety, with a lot of cautious, that what exactly they are up to next.
Come to Abhishek now. Abhishek, if you have spoken to the people in the Cockroach Jantar Party, are there any protests which are lined up for tomorrow? And now I'm sure they will do an audit as to how the day one protest has panned out. What does it mean in terms of outcomes now? If their only demand, if I remember, the moment Abhijeet Dipke came out of the airport, the first thing which he told the PTI was that so many students have committed suicide and we only want the resignation of the education minister. Now, resignation is something which this government doesn't believe in. We have hardly seen any resignations happening. So is it like trying to build up a movement on something which is unthinkable? And how long will they continue to do? When you have a government which is not going to listen, how long will they continue to hold protests? How long will they continue to make demand when the resignation is not going to happen in reality?
Actually, they declared from the stage that if the main Pradhan will not resign, then this protest will go on and continue. But they are not having any plan till today, and they told that they will discuss on our future steps, in what way we will have to raise our voice, and in which condition we will have to protest against the main Pradhan, or what the demand they were raising from Jantar Mantar today, and in future what kind of step they will take. For this, they will have to discuss in between, and there is certain kind of confusion between them, because if we saw today's scenario, then this was an unorganized protest. All the persons who were there, who were present there, they were come by their own will, and they got all the information via social media, and they all came to join this movement. But in future, whatever the step this Cockroach Jantar Party will take, the future step will be some organized, and then we will see the momentum of this movement. And as per my thinking, or what I have discussed from so many people who were present there, that because their demand is very much specific, that Dharmendra Pradhan should have resigned from their ministry, and as we saw about a decade, the Modi government will not accept their demand, because if this happens, then other more demands will come in front of the central government. So we have to watch what further step the Cockroach Jantar Party will take, and they must have designed their committee for on which way they have to go for the further step regarding their demands. And they also told that we have to clean the corruption from the government. So we have to watch further what kind of steps they will take, and we have also wait for their next
Right.
declaration about this protest.
All right. So yeah, I mean, obviously we have to wait till the time they don't make the next declaration. Now, what the movement demanded started on a very specific demand that there was unfairness on the part of the government when it came to CBSE and the NEET students, and they demanded a resignation of the education minister. Now, from specificity, I think there is the movement is heading into a vagueness, though it would be difficult to just make a judgment on that point of view. But on day one, Sujata, if I may ask you, what does it look like? Is it descending into some sort of a vagueness?
You might see it as vagueness at the moment, but I'm not going to brush it off. These are youngsters that we are talking about, and we are talking about their angst against the government and the system. So their aim is what? We are missing one very important thing here, that they are not an organized group. Their leader just walks in, through the airport, and then they go and get. They've already got permission, in fact, and the government clearly knew how many people are descended onto the streets of Delhi by that time. So they knew that it wasn't a very big threat, but they also knew that the message that would go across the country if they try to stop this movement would be difficult for them to handle, because they are not
Sujata, there's
associated
another
with any.
question. Sujata, there's another question that if you are so sure that, okay, the sentiment is well in place, we cannot brush it off. So, for the sake of the sentiment itself and the cause itself is big. So, why is the Congress party, I mean, that officially not coming in solidarity with the students, like the left parties have come, even the Congress could have come out.
Not at all. We are standing in solidarity with the students. Who says that? Rahul Gandhi ji just met a number of students who have been affected, who have been speaking out. You've seen that. And the Parliamentary Standing Committee headed by Mr. Digvijay Singh called this young boy Siddhant and Nisarg Adhikari. Why were they called? They were called because we know and we understand that education is very important. It is nobody other than the Congress party understands it better. Definitely not the BJP. And I'm not talking about other parties. I'm talking specifically about the BJP. We are standing with the students. And if we are the ones who have professed to have ensured that democracy is established in the country, we are not going to undermine anybody. We are not going to question them on what they are doing. And if this is a civil society movement, why should we be questioning it? The same students who are attending the CJP event today should be attending our event also tomorrow. And that is what we would want. See, they are citizens. Let's not put them in brackets like the BJP does. They expect everybody to become members of their party. No, we want citizens in this country, and we want citizens who are questioning. And if they are attending this particular event and they ask the relevant questions and they manage to get the education minister to resign, then we also have been playing our bit as far as his resignation is concerned. Rahul Gandhi ji has been tweeting this again and again. Congress persons have been saying this again and again, because that is the only aim as far as this movement is concerned. The first step in our movement against this government and the system which has been destroyed, for us, we will take it further once the resignation comes in. And it is the people of the country who have to speak up. And I'm happy that they are speaking up and demanding the resignation.
Is there an element of suspicion as well? Because I've seen many Congress leaders of the record saying that, we don't want to repeat the same experience of what we saw in 2012 with the India Against Corruption movement. And later on, we realized that, it was backed by RSS and the BJP. So, which is why we are, trying to cautiously tread the path ahead. So is that a major reason why you are looking at things with suspicion? And that brings me to the question that, are you doubting the funding? Are you doubting the ideology of this collective? Of course, the sentiment is very, very strong. Yes.
Absolutely not. Why should we doubt our youngsters? One, If somebody is leading a movement and our youngsters follow that movement and it is for the right thing, why will I question those youngsters? I welcome those questions for asking the relevant questions, at least having the guts to question this system. If they were called cockroaches, they have ensured that the government knows that wherever there is filth, there will be cockroaches and they will come out. And you cannot brush them off because they are in survival mode. And cockroaches will come out everywhere. As far as the Congress Party is concerned, there is a large group of people who I do agree are looking at them with suspicion because of what had happened. But like I said, it wasn't the IAC. We are missing the point there, that it started from the Nirbhaya movement, and after that, and our government did stop the youngsters, right? So this government could not have stopped these youngsters. The only thing was the IAC was brought in to kind of keep that momentum going and further the doubts in the minds of people by building a narrative against the Congress Party, which all turned out to be false later on. The Congress Party has never done that kind of thing, and today also the Congress Party, a number of our people are there with the CJP movement also. You cannot deny that. So those people who are tweeting, it's perfectly fine. Everybody has a right to express their opinion.
You are saying a number of your Congress Party members are with the CJP. So, any of your workers present today at Delhi's Jantar Mantar?
No, not as Congress persons. They, like I said, I started by saying they're citizens of the country, they're students of the country, they're the youth of the country. And you tell me, if Siddhant met Rahul Gandhi ji and today he goes and attends this event, are we going to question him? Or are we going to encourage him for what he has done? Are we going to clap for him, applaud him? It is not about a particular movement. We are a political party and we have to think politically. Of course, we have to be careful of various things. But as far as the youth of this country are concerned, if they are speaking out, we welcome that. And they should be speaking. They have our full support. It's not about the Cockroach Jantar Party. It's still a movement. It is not at the moment a political party. What happens later, we will see.
One more question to you, Sujata, and then I'll come to Tanveer to take the concluding comments. That there is a feeling, of course, the cause and the sentiment is very, very strong. You all are there for the students. There is no doubt about it. But where the doubt comes in is that, the NSUI also has been protesting, but the media did not acknowledge that, which is what you have said in your program. And we have shown those visuals also that, yes, media was discriminatory when it came to NSUI protests. Now, does that bring, and that brings me to the question that, is there a reason why, is this the very reason why you would not validate the leadership of people like Abhijeet Dipke? Is that a reason also why Congress is holding back itself when it comes to an outright support to this Cockroach Jantar Party?
Look, as far as the students are concerned and the Congress Party is concerned, the sentiment remains the same, right? As far as Godi media is concerned. Did you see the students raising slogans today against the mainstream media? So that clearly means that they are also upset with the way they are being targeted by the mainstream media. And so are we. If NSUI is conducting various marches and raising the voice of the people, of the students against this government and raising questions, and they're not listening, of course we feel hurt about it. Of course we feel the pain of it, because our words do not reach the people when this kind of thing happens, when a narrative is built against us. But that in no way means that we will demean any of our youngsters, and they are free to go wherever they want to, as long as we can get them justice. And anybody who is participating in that movement of getting them justice, that is what they are doing. But for us, it is justice that is more important. It is nyaya which is more important, and that is what Rahul Gandhi ji wants.
All right, fair enough. Okay, so Professor Tanveer, now the concluding comments. How do we look at this movement? It looks like in a very nascent stage, despite all the big sound and fury which we saw in the initial days, and we thought that is going to be a big some big bang event, which it hasn't ended up into. Now it seems that it's gone into the preparatory stage, where they will prepare, they will shape up the movement, and then it's sort of vague as well, that we do not know what shape it is going to take. Who knows? I mean, all of a sudden, BJP decides to arrest Abhijeet Dipke. What happens then? Now, can we expect some new turning points in the Cockroach Jantar Party protest now?
Could be. I think at this moment,
The
It's
so-called toolkit, the word toolkit, which is often used. Who knows? BJP's new toolkit is going to be like, maybe they're keeping their cards very close to the chest. There is
yeah,
also a feeling that BJP has employed a new strategy in tackling with the Cockroach Jantar Party.
yeah. So I think the government, as such, uh, won't do such kind of mistakes, right? Because after all, they're addressing a large number of students, right? I told you, I mean, Gen Z population, of course, is, I think, 40%, right? Almost around 40% of the population. It's not a small number, right? And it's catching up across, because of course we saw it in Bangladesh, we saw it in Nepal, we saw it in other countries also. It's catching up. The idea itself that there is a pent up anger within the students, right? Because they have been wronged. There is a systemic failure. They have been wronged, and because they have been wronged, it boils down to their future as well, about their career, about their jobs, about their life, about building their whole life, etc. So I think that anger is there, right? NSUI, for that matter, is also raising lot of I mean, it's a lot of voice against the government, right? So there is, I mean, large section of students in NSUI, now this group. So in together, we are seeing that there's a huge students which are coming up together, right, against the government. So that is going to be there. It's not going to peter out. I mean, the way in which government is thinking that it's going to peter out after some time, or we may placate some of them. See, it's easy for the government to placate this amorphous group, but it's not that easy to placate NSUI, right? So therefore, they would be dealing both the groups differently. They would not deal NSUI and Gen Z, this Cockroach Janta Party in the same manner. They are thinking that they might placate, or perhaps you never know, they might appropriate the whole movement because they have the money, muscle, everything. They have with them the institutions as well. But at the moment, what I see is that these protests and these guys, the Gen Z guys, are very committed ones, right? I mean, look at their symbols on which they are fighting. They are fighting on the symbols of Constitution. They are fighting on the symbols of Ambedkar. They are fighting on the symbols of social justice. These are values which, if the students imbibe, right, it's going to transform this whole country, right? So it is very transformative in that sense. This whole collective outrage, I think, would turn into a very transformative and very creative movement, which I'm seeing. So I am not seeing it as dying down right now. What I'm seeing is that, they would look back, and then they would see. At the moment, they have asked for one demand. Let's see how it pans out. I mean, government will have to think twice right now not to address to this demand. Because if they are not going to address this demand, I'm sure the convergence would be there within various students group. As I told, see, students have always been at the forefront of any movement. Take it, even freedom movement. If you study freedom movement carefully, large number of students were there. Yeah, at the time of emergency, large number of students were there. Lots of movements I can pick up at the moment where
But
students
do
were
you
there
see the
transforming.
possibility? Do you see the possibility of this movement becoming into, I mean, turning into a pan-India protest? Because that's what Abhijeet Dipke said, that if Dharmendra Pradhan doesn't resign, then he has threatened that this movement will become a pan-India movement.
See, at the moment itself is a pan-India movement, right? Because it is digital, and it has a connect with all the citizens, all in fact all those who want to have a larger oppositional space, right? So all those people, all those students who get affected and they want a larger oppositional space, they would connect with this idea, right? And they are at the forefront. They are creating a new kind of a synergy within the oppositional space. So therefore, I'm very sure that this would not die down. It would pan out. It's already a pan-India movement. And the only thing is that how they are going to organize their next move, right? But that their next move is dependent on the government. Now the ball is in the government's court. Let's see how government tackles with this whole debate.
Right. All right, so we'll have to end it here. Thank you so much, Sujata Paul, Professor Tanveer Ejaz, Abhishek Rawat, and we'll continue with our discussion on federal Hindi immediately after this. Stay tuned. Thank you so much.